One.
Welcome, Charlotte, Rock Hill, Gastonia, surrounding areas, and all that. Welcome back to this latest edition of Owens Construction. I am your quasi host, Jamal, the angry black fan Darby. To my immediate left is Rodney, Rob Pops Richardson, along with his lovely wife, Candace. Hello, people.
Hello, how you doing?
And last, and certainly not least, we have a very, very, very special guest. First, before I introduce you, I want to say I wore my West Charlotte shirt on purpose today because, again, I never get tired of introducing Dub C alumni on the show.
That's right, baby.
Dub C alumni, Charlotte Observer columnist, and most importantly, a counselor therapist for Justin Perry Healing and help me out.
Healing and recovery.
All that.
Healing and recovery. All of it. Yeah.
Mr. Justin Perry. Clap it up for Mr. Justin Perry, y'all. What long overdue to have you on the show, man. How you doing today, brother?
I'm good, man. I appreciate you having me on, man.
Yes, sir. So we are here because you wrote a very interesting article in the Charlotte Observer, and just correct me if I'm wrong, but you are a frequent contributor to the Charlotte Observer as well. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah. I usually do one a month. Yeah.
Okay, one a month. All right. So with that being said, that means you should be on this show once a month. I'm just giving you a heads up right now, man, because I really enjoy what you write on in the Charlotte Observer, man. You're a very important voice to this community. I know a lot of times you probably don't make a lot of friends. Wink, wink, hint, hint. A lot of times, and we here under construction, we like to give, especially African Americans, a voice to give them our voice on what we're feeling and what we're going through, man. And so your latest article, they say Black Lives Matter. Show us the receipts. That's what I'm talking about. First things first, Justin, what prompted it? What inspired you to write this article? I probably could answer that for you, but I'm not going to. So you go ahead.
You're good, man. You're good. Well, I mean, I think, it's one of those deals where it's, obviously, the fact that the whole concept of Black Lives Matter, the fact that was even controversial at any point was always crazy, right?
Yeah.
And so again, and when people try to act like it wasn't, well, it was like we have Black Lives Matter, and then all of a sudden you have All Lives Matter,
right?
Which is a direct response to Black Lives. Then it's Blue Lives Matter, and I'm sitting there and I'm like matter is that's the lowest expectation you can have, and yet we're still arguing that.
We're still fighting it. Why are we fighting for wanting to matter? Why?
Right. And so, so basically the way I looked at it was, following this George Floyd situation, again, starting with Ahmaud Arbery and then, Breonna Taylor, which still hadn't gotten the attention it deserved and whose murderers are still free. And then in the George Floyd, I think it was like recognize that this pandemic, and especially I can say this on this show, I think what happened was everything was so quiet and so slowed down. People didn't have sports distraction. People couldn't go to the bars and stuff like they did. And so all of a sudden you see white folks and you see businesses all of a sudden being like, oh, whoa, because everybody's hitting the streets now. Right?
Yeah. Right.
So not everybody's coming out and saying stuff like, here we stand against systemic racism and yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, okay, cool. Prove it. So it's one thing to say it in your mouth, but again, your actions tell what it is. And again, they say you can tell what somebody really values by their budget, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
If you know anything about this country, if you know anything about this city, it's the two things that are most important are image and money. And so what I said was, I'm glad folks are now stepping up and saying, hey, okay, we agree to Black Lives Matter, kind of. But we all say we stand against systemic racism. And I'm saying, okay, cool. Let's break down what that actually means.
Justin, before you go on, because before you go on, I want to get Rodney and Candace's thoughts on the article, and then I want to ask you a follow-up question to that. Rodney, did you have thoughts? Candace, did y'all have any thoughts?
Candace has thoughts.
Well, I don't want to take over the show.
No, don't get nervous now. No, you on the show, so
don't do that today. Candace, I know it's okay.
I thought it was a great article. I think the article definitely said what a lot of people want to say. It's great that, we have these murals that are going up. It's great that you're saying that Black Lives Matter. but what are we doing? Where is the action? Where are the actionable objectives that are going to get us to the end goal?
Yeah.
Right. Now, I'm glad you said that, Candace, because and then Rodney, I'm gonna get back to you, but my follow up question to that was specifically in Charlotte's art community. Charlotte art community, in my opinion, took some very, very just kind of unfair heat for them contributing, what they do. They're artists.
Yeah.
They put this beautiful art in downtown Charlotte, and the Charlotte artist community kind of took on some unjust heat for that. We all know that the art is a sentiment. I think sensible people know that putting art is not going to actually change, quote unquote, anything. But at the same time, why can't we just appreciate the sentiment on top of actually doing the work? Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on that? Justin, I want to get you first on that.
So I love that you bring it up, because again, I have a lot of respect for our art community and for our Black art community and friends with a lot of folks. So again, to me, it's not an either or, it's a both and.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm like, no, yeah, knock down the monuments, knock down the statues and change the statutes, right? Mm-hmm. I'm saying, put down the mural, and make sure we're paying our artists who are doing that, because they're an important part of it.
Thank you. Very important part of it.
Bring some awareness and everything else. And that's a starting point. And then we got to go to the next step, right? And so to me, what I think happens is we often get caught in this space of battling each other. And like, no, to me, the way I look at it is like there's this one universal pinata of white supremacy, and we all swing at it with different tools. Mm-hmm. And as long as you were swinging at that same pinata and I'm swinging at it, then I don't have any problem with you, right? I'm not swinging back at you. Like I have no beef or malice with the mural. I love that we got the mural, right? Yeah. And I love that Black artists got paid to do the mural. And I think we need to continue uplifting our Black artists, and we need to keep putting out conscious art. And there's still other things that need to be done in terms of our businesses, in terms of our city council, in terms of our school, in terms of our state government, all of these things. So to me, we got to shift out of the either or mentality and get to a both and mentality.
Right. And listen, I'm not trying to sound corny when I say this, and I'm really not. But at the same time, people need to realize that these artists matter too, in a way. Like it's all a part of the building blocks to get the people's attention that we need to get it to. You get what I'm saying? We're all in the same game, so to speak. Rodney, I didn't mean to cut you off earlier, man. You had a thought earlier.
Yeah. So I was on Twitter the other day. Jamel Hill, she had an interesting comment. Mm-hmm. Basically, she said that AT&T, Google, Comcast, Target, Best Buy, FedEx, and Sony all put out little statements that Black Lives Matter, but they simultaneously donated to Senator Kelly Loeffler's campaign. She's very anti-Black Lives Matter, and it's just like you're giving us lip service, and you're not having action behind those words. And so I think a lot of people are fed up because we've been fed lip service for 50, 60 years now. We want some
action,
substantive change, some action behind those words.
And
I really enjoyed this article because he's putting the people who make the laws and the policies foot under the fire. Like, look, you're saying the right things. Now show us that you're doing the right things.
Right. And I think that's the key point. And that's why I said, again, your budget is going to show me what you prioritize, right? Yep. So again, you can look me in the eye and say, hey, I care about you. But if you're donating to folks that are trying to kill me, then that doesn't add up, right? And so again, you're somebody who you operate in the WNBA, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And again,
which is probably 90% Black, by the way.
Right. And if you look at what those women, as strong as they are, how they stand out, like there's nothing unapologetic. They're very clear when they stand for it. And then you got this candidate who's completely trying to undermine that, right? And so if you are funding that, you're funding undermining them. And so to me, that's the way I look at it, is saying, if I look around this country and I look again in this city, again, Jamal, like I said, grown up here, right? So 36 of my 40 years I've lived here in Charlotte. And what I've seen in this city is people come in and kind of extract from it.
Yeah, right. Take the soul away from it. Yeah.
Exactly. But the people who live here and stay here and are loyal just kind of keep getting stepped on. And they're kind of like human shrapnel in the development grenade, right?
Now, I am so glad you mentioned that, because I get a lot of crap for getting on people who are from Charlotte in particular, because I feel the exact same way you feel. And I feel like it is our responsibility specifically. When I say our, I mean people who went to West Charlotte, Garinger, Independence, whatever, whatever the case is. Because I feel like we're slowly, our voices are slowly being silenced.
Yep.
And we're slowly being pushed out of upward mobility. We're slowly being pushed out of better education, whatever the case is. You look at West Charlotte now versus when we went to West Charlotte. I mean, that's a prime example right there. So what does this pressure look like? What can we do? How exactly are we going to put pressures on these corporations, the school system, whatever? You know what I mean?
Let me jump in there. Like I was looking at a documentary a few months back regarding Atlanta. I think it was Coleman Young or whatever in Atlanta. And like how Atlanta prospered was they actually like included their black citizens. So it was kind of like, well, if you want this done, you have to have X amount of black citizens involved in this project. Say, for instance, the airport. Well, you got to have a black person laying the concrete, and so you're creating wealth for your actual citizens there. With Charlotte, to me, man, it's like we have a black mayor, black city council, school board.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
Fire chief, DA, and it's just like we're still falling behind, and it's just like there's no reason we should be still falling behind at this point.
Speaking of Charlotte City Council, Justin, I want to come back to you because you had a lot to say about Charlotte City Council in your article, as far as like just redlining, kind of not really helping, the lack of upward mobility for us. Speak more to that, man. Just anything you want to. First thing comes to your mind.
Yeah, man. Again, we got to start with the budget first of all, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, you got a budget, and over 40% of it is going to CMPD. And the thing we're talking about in our community is saying that we got issues with housing and we got issues of economic development, but those two things combined for less than 4% of your budget. Again, let's go back to the language we said before.
Yeah.
What you're saying on the campaign trail versus what you're saying in the decision-making booth are very different things. And what I'm saying to you is maybe if we actually invested more in the housing and the economic development standpoint, we wouldn't need as much money on the policing standpoint, right? For me, I don't set a budget for myself and say, okay, I'm gonna start my budget with how much money am I gonna allot for the emergency room? No, I'm gonna set a budget to figure out how to not
you're trying to prevent the emergency first, right?
Right. But our budget says, hey, let's fund the emergency room, and then we'll put a little bit of what we need to put into food and housing and everything else, and then we'll just keep increasing that budget. Cause see, they're acting up, so that's why we need more of this, right? And so it's a setup. And so to me, I think Jamal, part of it is. So the challenge too is that even we're not necessarily a unified black voice, right? Because the reality is we got people of black that are at different economic levels.
Right, no doubt.
Those of us who move into a higher level, but we kind of disconnect from the folks that are still here on the ground level, right?
No doubt.
And so to me, I think it's important that if I'm in the boardroom, I'm not going to be talking trash about the person who's marching in the street. I'm actually going to be uplifting what they're doing because they're marching in the street to get what we're supposed to be fighting for in the boardroom. So we got to figure out how to be doing this thing together.
Get on one accord.
When you talk about our role, I also got to figure out how to be assertive. If I'm a position of black leadership, I've got to unapologetically operate in that versus trying to hold on to the position and not upset the status quo.
I'm going to play devil's advocate. Is that easier said than done? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's tough. No, you're good. You're good. It's tough. You got to be willing to sacrifice, right? And I'll say this: those of us I'm intentional about the fact that I put myself out there, and I leverage the fact that, okay, now I am my own boss now, right? So those of us, but I got to look at it this way too. When there are people now who are looking for more diversity, who are looking for all of these things, you got to know your own worth. Well, this company actually needs me, and so what I'm going to say is, if you need me, you're going to have to get all of me versus just this little bit of me, right? And so I think what happened is, again, most of us grew up learning how to try to hold on to a position, right? And it makes sense, right? And so, but I guess what I'm saying though is we have to come together as the numbers start to shift, and we got to have some collective conversations to say, hey, we can't be used for a photo op, because that makes it worse. Because if you got a bunch of black faces upholding the same structure, then they can say, hey, it's not racism, man.
Right. And basically, I kind of feel like local and federal government, not that I'm saying anything profound or anything we haven't heard before, but they're acting like corporations. Corporations are going to act like corporations. They're going to sell you something. And if they feel like anything is going to threaten their selling points, their status quo, then, they're just going to give us lip service. Rodney, do you have any other thoughts regarding that?
Man, like one thing, man, that you talked about was those statues, man, and like something always stood out to me, man. Like somebody, I forgot where I got the quote from. Somebody said that whoever wins controls history, and it's just like who really won that war? Like,
right.
They constantly control the narrative. It's like states' right to do what? Own slaves. So it's just like it's a whole system that we still have to tear down, and it's just a constant fight that we have.
Yeah. Candace, did you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I disagree. Like, we all need to find a way to get on the same page as Black people, from the people who are at the top to the people at the bottom. And that's the only way that we're going to be able to move forward. We have to stop sacrificing, how we feel about something. And we have to kind of live out loud and be unapologetic about the way that we go about doing things. We have to be intentional. So, I mean, I just feel like there is a bridge that we all need to heal in order to get over.
Yeah.
Right. Now, Justin, in your article, I like the fact that you kind of laid out, like, kind of everything was happening in different systems, the educational system, the medical field, you kind of went over like affordable housing and gentrification. You kind of outlined everything that's going on within each system. One thing I wanted to specifically talk about, because this show actually talks a lot about affordable housing and upward mobility. What can we simply just blame that on so many transplants coming to Charlotte? What's the problem? Like, how can we? I don't know. Is there a plan we can actually outline to fix that? I mean, I don't have the answers to that. I drive by. One more thing, like I drive by Tent City every day, and I look around. I'm just like, why is nobody out here trying to fix this? I don't. Help me out here.
Well, I mean, here's the hard facts, Jamal. The hard facts are developers run Charlotte.
Yep.
Right.
They get what they want.
So the thing is, we may have people who may be elected in certain capacities, but in the end, it's the developers who have run this city forever, right? And so, and part of one of the things one of the reasons why I called out the Valentine deal was that, in the end, they're looking to give this person, a subsidy and everything else, right? And so to me, it's like that. If I'm operating at that point from a position of leverage, then I've got to lean into that. And so what we have right now is we have a city that in general has always just kind of not pushed back at all. And so what they feel like if they push back a little bit, that's good enough. And what I'm saying is that, when you're 50th out of 50 in economic mobility out of large cities, pushing just a little bit ain't enough. Because if we were in a corporation or in a business and your business was at the bottom of its field and you came to your boss and said, hey, I figured out a way I can push a little bit, guess what? They're going to push you out of the company, right? And so what I'm saying to them is that when you have a really drastic situation, we have to take really bold efforts. And so I think really from our standpoint, what we have to do, and there's some folks that are coordinate what they're calling the March for 30, so 30% area median income. So I mean, we're talking about lots of times people who make that. Again, what I put in there, people who work in childcare services, people who work in the service industries, people who are teachers assistants, a lot of folks who, again, that's one of our biggest shortages in housing. And these are people who are getting pushed out everywhere. And so what we're saying is, if you do a deal that's going to take public money, there has to be housing in there for folks in that area. And if not, it's a bad deal.
Yeah,
right.
You know,
no doubt.
And so we have to start holding our folks accountable on that.
So I've seen the city use this as a crutch. Like they always say that the state government won't allow them to have certain incentives for developers or things of that nature. How do you feel about that?
So what they can do some incentivizing. Now, one thing is when they, like I said, whenever there's public money involved, they don't like that Valentine deal. They allowed the developer to set a floor, you know, and say there's nothing below this level. No, like they didn't need to do that. They don't have to do that.
Right.
Now now with the state, and then state is honestly the state is the biggest problem. All right, that is a legitimate concern. However, there are things that they can do still, but so the state prevents us from having what's called inclusionary zoning, which is where any development that's done has to have a certain amount set aside for different income levels. Like so, even places like New York and stuff like that have that, and so people come here they don't realize that.
Time out.
So, go ahead.
Time out. If that does not sound like systemic. I'm trying not to say racism, but if that doesn't sound like
I'm off. I didn't know I was supposed to say that word on this.
No, you can, but I'm just like that blows my mind. Like if that doesn't sound like problematic, I don't know what does, man. But go ahead.
Hey, Jamal, those people have to pick themselves up by the bootstrap.
Right. Hey, no. Once they get their $15 an hour, then they can pull themselves up.
Right. And that's the whole thing. And that's why even one of the things I put in about the curriculum, I put in there about people need to learn about like the Homestead Act. Like people don't know about that. Like that's Europeans were straight up granted land. Like they were given land. Like that's why I'm telling you, I'm like government handouts. Man, you don't know what government handouts are. Like literally, that's what the wealth was built off of.
The GI Bill.
Exactly. That's what I said. Like both my granddads both fought. Neither one of them got anything from GI Bill. So I mean, when you're talking about 98% of the mortgages from the 1930s late into the 1960s, 98% of them going to white people. When you're talking about the wealth gap, there you are.
That's a main contributor.
Because what that does is I can use that equity to pay for college. I can use that equity for a down payment of the next house or whatever else. And so that's why even though we're hustling, like that's why we're playing constant catch up.
Yeah. Right. Man, we've talked. This is a lot for 23 minutes that we've been on, man. We could go on about this all day, man. And I don't, unfortunately, man, I think the work is just really getting started. I don't think we've even begun to scratch the surface of not only problems locally, but just in this entire nation. Do y'all agree with that statement? I mean, there's a whole, I will say this, and let me know if y'all agree with this or not. With the George Floyd situation in particular, and everything that has been done after the George Floyd incident, I kind of, if there's one positive, that sounds crazy to say that I could take from that, is I believe all the actions that have been done by mostly Black people and everybody else who's been protesting, who's been letting their voice be heard. There's a part of me that thinks that we at least got people's attention. Not to say that any real change has been made yet, but at the very least, you got corporations at least giving us lip service, whereas in the past, it was just completely ignored. Y'all agree with that or not?
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say lip service is better than benign neglect.
That's what I mean, and that sounds kind of pathetic to say that, but it's kind of our reality too, unfortunately. It's just like, well, at least they actually responded this time. You know what I mean? So, and I just feel like I'm interested in the next steps, mainly with Black people and upward mobility. I think that is maybe the hugest issue, at least locally here, man. So just looking forward to the work that can be done there. And Justin, I know, man, you are very active when it comes to this kind of stuff, man. So I'm looking forward to hearing your voice more when it comes to that.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. So,
are y'all hearing like a typing sound?
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
Still there?
Yeah, we here. All right. So,
my feet.
moving on to a much lighter subject. Mr. Cam Newton released a new video log this week. It is basically saying goodbye, Charlotte. Hello, New England. In this video, he's basically stating that he's not bitter. He appreciates the organization. He's gonna miss us here. It even included a little song by Boys II Men, all that good stuff. You know what I'm saying? and I just want to know you guys' thoughts on Cam Newton's kind of attitude, I guess, or his response to leaving Charlotte. Did anything surprise you? Did anything? I don't know. Yeah, did anything surprise you about his response to him being released?
Nothing surprising, man. I'm just kind of like, if what he says is true about how the Panthers released him, I'm just kind of concerned about that. Especially with the new regime and just basically trying to transition into a new phase of the team.
Right.
I mean, I wish Cam Newton the best, but I mean, it's time to move on at this point.
You know what? Let me ask you this follow-up question real quick, Rodney, and Justin, you can answer this too. Are Carolina Panthers fans ever going to move on from Cam Newton?
Until we get a quarterback that is great and we win the Super Bowl, no.
Justin, what are your thoughts?
I think that response is it, man. I think there's just so much, man. There's so much energy with Cam, man. I mean, even the fact that we had the vision about Cam, who was an MVP here, right?
Yeah.
So it's one of those things. Like to me, like as somebody who actually gone to all those games, I had to sit there and watch not only Jimmy Clausen, but Vinny Testaverde was the.
Vinny Testaverde. Hey, Justin, what was the guy we got off the couch? Brian St. Pierre. Remember him?
Brian St. Pierre. I was like, y'all don't understand. If y'all were complaining about Cam, man, you had no idea. Yeah, y'all forgot I was there. I was there for the double gloves of David Carr.
And one thing I found interesting, man, is Cam Newton, like I've always said about him in regards to this fan base, like he can't really win for losing.
No.
Here's what I mean by that. He mentioned the fact that there were plenty of times where he should not have been playing, but he felt like he couldn't give up because of guys like Thomas Davis, Luke Kuechly. He went down the line. He basically was naming all his teammates who were in the same boat. And I just thought to myself, like, well, if Cam doesn't play, let's just say he sits out, then he's quitting, then he's not a team guy, then he's letting the Panthers down. That would have been the narrative. So then when he does play, he shouldn't have lied about being injured, blah, blah. So I'm just like, people who hate the guy, people who don't like him, like, how can you look at that response and not respect him after that?
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't get it. I don't get it, man. But for the people who are fans of him, like that just kind of made me respect him even more. What do you think about that, Justin?
No, I mean, that was the thing to me. I'm like, when it was interesting to me when people started putting together his stats, and it, at the end, when they were up in all the games when he was hurt,
yeah,
basically playing, and it was like, well, he hadn't been playing well. And I'm like, well, actually, when he was healthy, he was playing well. So really, he could have sat out so that he said, I'm gonna still look good with my stats and everything else.
Yeah,
but right. And so it's one of those things where you danged if you do, danged if you don't, And so to me, if everybody actually, if they rallied around him in general, it would be something that endeared him to you. But at the same time, because the community was so split, it was like, well, he should have sat out or whatever. Yeah, we would have been terrible, right? And, you know, in the end, he was constantly sacrificing himself.
Scrutinized.
Top level athlete, and we still couldn't appreciate that.
Yeah, no doubt. Rodney, what you got?
I hate to say this, man. You really don't appreciate things until they're gone.
No doubt.
We're in for a long ride. Like, that defense is not good. So hopefully we get a Trevor Lawrence next year. But other than that, man, I just don't see it at this point, man. I don't. We're in for a rude awakening for 2020 and 2021.
I'm gonna tell you one thing I found interesting about Cam Newton's response in this whole thing, because he said this about 2 or 3 times. He basically said, "You know what? I'm not bitter, but I'm coming for y'all's next year." Like, and I believe him. He doesn't have to say much for me to believe him. I really think that dude is hungry, man. So my next question to both of y'all is, what is it gonna feel like for Charlotte's fan base if we get a healthy Cam Newton and that Cam Newton ends up winning the Super Bowl with the Patriots? What is that gonna feel like for Charlotte's fan base? Just to take that one first.
You know, I've already thought about it, right? So,
Right.
I'm put this way. I'm prepared to be a troll, man. That's all I'm going to be a troll if that happens, man.
Yeah.
Oh, we are too. We are too.
You know, I'm going hard on that. Like I've already been playing. Like that was the first athlete that my son, who was 6, almost about to be 7, knew already. Like, so I mean, he was like 2, almost 3, and he was like yelling, "Cam Newton." So it's like, you know, so Cam has like, he's locked in for us. So I'm like, I hate the Patriots. Let's be clear. I hate them, and my son knows we already hate the Patriots. But if Cam wins the Super Bowl with the Patriots, I'm trolling our fan base really hard. That's all I got to say, man.
All right, bro, Rodney, what you got?
Man, look, man. If Cam Newton wins the Super Bowl with the Patriots, I am calling all the sports talk stations. I'm talking trash to everybody. I'm going to buy me a Cam Newton Patriots t-shirt. I'm going to be so happy for this dude, man. Look, I was happy when Larry Johnson hit the 4-point play for the Knicks. I'm be as happy, if not happier, when Cam actually wins the Super Bowl for the Patriots, man.
Let me tell y'all something. There's going to be a high level of trolling that comes from me if that happens, but also let me be very clear. There's going to be a high level of sadness if that happens as well. There's going to be a lot of this if the Patriots end up winning the damn Super Bowl with Cam Newton. Look, man, like most Panthers fans, I hate the Patriots. I can't root for them. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, we all want Cam Newton to do well. So if they do win, at least it's with Cam. But it's going to be a hard road, man. Ryan Brackeridge had a comment I wanted to go over with, man. He says most people talk about passing yards, etc., but when it comes to Cam, his completion percentage is concerning. And listen, I'm glad you said that, Ryan, because that's the first thing Cam's detractors are always going to point to. His completion percentage, blah, 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 blah. My favorite saying on this show is stats don't lie, but they also don't tell the entire story. And I feel like Cam Newton is a prime example of that statistic not really telling the whole story about Cam. Is this something his detractors are going to use against him? I'll put it to you like this. Teddy Bridgewater may have a higher passing percentage than Cam Newton, but who do you want out there first? Cam. It's that simple. Who's going to win you more games? It's that simple, man. So with that being said, go ahead, Roddy.
Before you move on, check out the Cam Chronicles on the Ringer Podcast Network. It was done by a young brother from Philadelphia. It chronicles his life from Atlanta to Glen College to Florida to Charlotte and now New England, and it's awesome. Please check it out.
Right now, with that being said, Cam Newton is going to Boston next year. Different fan base up there. I'll just put it to you like that. What is it going to take for Boston fans to accept Cam Newton? What do y'all think about that?
Winning. That's it. Winning.
I'm saying, no, it's winning. I mean, look, I always tell people, I'm like, look, Boston is Mississippi with a different accent, man. Like, people don't understand. Like, I'm with Boston. I remember going to visit friends, and I was like, how am I in a big city, and I'm going 3 days, and I'm not seeing another black person right now? Like, oh, everybody's over there, you know? And so I'm like, yeah, so if he wins, he'll be all right, you know?
Yeah.
Now, if he doesn't, then they come.
You're going to feel it. You're going to feel it.
Godspeed, man. And look, because when he first signed with the Patriots, I'm looking on my Facebook feed, and you know I got a couple of friends that's from Boston, and they were already talking about he can't dress the way he dresses in Carolina, he can't act the way he acted there. We're not going to accept that. And these are black people. So I'm just like, man, if he thinks this fan base is I don't know, a little hard on him here, then wait till he gets there. You know what I mean?
Right. We're supposed to be conservative ones, right?
Right. All right, y'all. Moving on, man, because God knows it's Cam Newton news every week, it seems like, man. And look, man, like Riley said, we're probably not going to let him go until we get our Super Bowl or MVP winning quarterback here. So we'll move on today, man. Let's talk about Daniel Snyder and the Washington Redskins. Not that I want to, but the news is too big to not talk about it, man.
No, the Washington no name.
I'm sorry. The artists formerly known as the Washington Redskins are in the news again, and not for good reason. So, unless everybody's been under a rock, Daniel Snyder once again has allegedly had a very tough work environment, to say the least. Reports are detailing that sexual trafficking may even be involved in some upcoming reports, which is completely crazy to me that would involve an NFL team. First things first, I want to ask a very simple question. Is Daniel Snyder the worst owner in sports?
Yeah. Yeah, he's up there with Dolan.
Oh, no, I was like, yeah, Donald Sterling. Oh, yeah. So, can't argue it. Yeah, he's number one right now, man.
Because I wanted to ask that, being that we are a Charlotte-based sports podcast, and people always like to include one of our owners as the worst owner in sports, which I think is ridiculous. But so going back to Daniel Snyder, man, there have been complaints of racism, sexual harassment, just overall him being a jerk. There's also just, I don't know, bad management. There was somebody screenshotted a text message of Jay Gruden challenging one of the players to a fight. I don't know what to make of all this, man. I guess to tie this in, how does Ron Rivera succeed in that work environment? Does anybody have any thoughts about that?
But can we start with how did Ron Rivera leave here with the ownership situation that end up there?
Poor guy. Poor guy. Right.
I mean, if you look at it, man, if you honestly look at it, man, all he has to do is just coach at this point, and he has to let the chips fall wherever they fall. He has to not get involved with any of that, and most importantly, when they break the huddle, do not go Snyder on 3 like you did Richardson. That's all you gotta
God. Did they really do that?
They did that, man. He did Richardson on 3. Yeah.
Wow. Justin, you got any thoughts about how Ron Rivera can survive in this environment?
No, and that, I'm with Rodney. I mean, I think he's got to lock in, because they've been trying to have him do part PR, part everything else, and it's like right now it's like, I don't know that, because here's the difference with the Jerry Richardson thing versus Daniel Snyder is like when you're looking at age, right? So it's not easy to kind of nudge and guide out. And so, I mean, Daniel Snyder is still right in the thick from an age standpoint, and so this is just starting, right? So it's already dealing with the controversy over the name and everything else. And now the other stuff is coming out. And so, like, to Rodney's point, from Ron's standpoint, it's like, you better get the huddle tight really quickly. And, and start to focus in on that area. But yeah, your ownership situation is wow.
Honestly,
I don't run out of words, but I don't have them right now.
Yeah, no, I same man. Now, with the whole Washington with the name fiasco, I don't know if you guys heard, but there's some guy in Virginia who trademarked all of the possible names for the Redskins, which I think is hilarious, by the way, and it's perfect karma. It's perfect karma for that organization. With that being said, you're going through this name fiasco. Daniel Snyder is Daniel Snydering. If I'm a Washington fan, why should I be a fan? Like, what is going to make me stick around at this point? Because this is as rock bottom for any organization as I have ever seen in my relatively short lifetime. I don't even think the Knicks have even been in this kind of situation before. Why would I stick around?
I mean, honestly, man, if you look at this, to me, that within the near future, there'll probably be new ownership. To be honest with you, if more information comes out, this kind of reminds me of the Baylor situation with Art Browse, the lack of institutional control. I mean, you're the owner. You need to have an established positive culture, and what he allowed to go on kind of goes against the grain as far as what the NFL morality standards are. And so fans of Washington have been clamoring for new ownership for a long time, and this may be their gateway to get that new ownership.
Justin, what you think?
I agree. I mean, I think you're dealing with, like you said, you're dealing with the name fiasco. You're dealing with racism. You're dealing with human trafficking. Like that. Like again, this is the bottom of the barrel, right? So none of these things are things that you can do. I mean, it's funny because like Redskins, that was my first team. So it's my boy would be my second team because if I grew up, the first thing I watched was Doug Williams.
Like a lot of Carolinians did. Yeah. Hey, Justin. I want you to do one thing for us, man. If you can, disconnect real quick and come back to us. I want you to try to disconnect real quick and come back to us. Come back in like 2 minutes.
Yes.
Because I just want to see what's going on with this, with the static and stuff. Hey, Rodney, me and you will keep going, and Justin is going to come back in a couple of minutes, man.
We can hit up the MLS, man. So how do you feel about the MLS basically saying that they won't start until 2022 now?
It's necessary. I didn't want to really see it because, like a lot of people, we're missing sports, man. I'm missing live sports. I want to, especially with this new shiny toy that Charlotte has, so to speak. You know what I mean? But at the same time, can we really be mad at it? You know what I'm saying? Can we really go downtown with pitchforks and protest signs? Like, why can't we have our soccer in 2020? Dude, it's just necessary, man. Because
I want my soccer with no mask.
Right, and not to go on some tangent, man. But I just, dude, and not to be overly negative, but I just don't see this COVID thing going away too quickly, man. You know what I mean? And until we start getting a real handle on that situation, and we don't, man, forget sports right now. And that's coming from me, somebody who is sorely missing everything sports related. Yeah, it's secondary right now to me, man. You know what I mean?
And also, man, like, I mean, the writing was on the wall because if you look at it, man, we really haven't heard anything from them, really, to be honest with you. Like, we just started hearing from them again last week when they was like, okay, we're scratching the name off the list. Oh, welcome back. We haven't heard from you since April.
Right.
And so it's just like, it makes perfect sense. And then Temper is smarter than we actually give him credit for. So he's like, okay, I'm gonna read the room. 2021 doesn't look like a smart play, so we'll do 2022, and hopefully we will have a stadium improvements, everything ready by then, and we be full ready to go.
Doesn't it feel good to have leadership act on sensibility than to just politicize something or act on something monetarily? Doesn't that feel good to have like real leadership to be sensible and to be logical about something? That's awesome, right?
No comment.
I've said enough myself.
I'm trying to keep fans.
no more comment. No comment. All right. So with the MLS situation, man, coming in 2022, man, do you think that's going to hurt the excitement or help it?
Just piggybacking off what I'm saying, man. Like, we haven't really heard anything from them.
Right.
Like, the excitement really wasn't there to begin with to me, man. It's just like, okay, we had the press conference. We heard something once every 2 months from them.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much it from my vantage point. Like, I've gotten pushback on that from what I said, but people that are not entrenched in soccer, we haven't heard anything from it. Like if you listen to sports talk radio, like, you really don't have the guys from MLS coming on talking like that.
Yeah, right.
This gives them a chance to finally hash out the plan, have a proper rollout for the logo, the uniforms, endorsements, and everything like that, and then gain full steam into 2022.
No, I agree. You stole my thunder when you said it, man. Because I think, the closer we get to 2022, man, the PR push can begin, the marketing push can really begin. So no, I completely agree with that, man. And the thing is, they better make that a point, man, because we live in a popcorn society, man, and people will forget about something in a heartbeat. Like, people will even forget we have a soccer team. So the closer we get to 2022, man, they better be having rallies downtown and pep rallies, Roman Beer Park, all that stuff, man. Yeah, everything. I totally agree with that, man. So we'll see how it works out, man. So we're gonna go to our shout outs and shout ats, and it's and we're starting this a little early for a reason. I might have a list this week. Rodney, anybody you want to shout out or shout at this week?
I got a few shout ats. I'm gonna give a shot at August Alsina. And Jada Pinkett, man. Like, you got to vet your boy toys a little better, Jada. He doesn't understand the code, man. Like, I heard that entanglement song, man. If I'm Will Smith, I'm pulling up the little dude, man. I'm scrapping dude, man. Like,
let me say something, man. You better than me, because I refuse to listen to it, man. I'm not. But go ahead, man. I mean to cut you off,
man. Like Rick Ross has some slick lines in it, man. And like August was talking that trash, and if I'm Will, yeah, I'm pulling up to see you, man. I'm talking Drake. We playing Mob Ties, and we pulling up. It was bad, man. But that whole situation, man. If it was me, man, like, Jada and Will didn't owe an explanation to anybody at the end of the day, really. I mean, you could just let August say what he had to say. You played into it. Now it's blown out of proportion. Just leave it alone, man.
Hey, let me cut you off real quick, because here's what I want to say to that. So I pulled up Facebook this morning, and that's the first thing I see is this damn August Alsina song. And I told myself, I said, I'm not clicking that. And here's why. And I'm not hating on anybody who does. I'm not. But the reason why I refuse to do that is because this just reeks of, I got an album coming out and I'm trying to promote it.
Yeah.
And because, correct me if I'm wrong, because this whole fiasco happened 4 years ago with him and Jada Pinkett. Am I correct?
It's been ongoing. I'm thinking they stopped within the past year.
Okay. With that being said, man, this just reeks of, I got something to promote myself now. I got something to market myself with now. I know I get called a music snob a lot, man, but I am so sick and tired of people using gimmicks to promote themselves over talent.
50 Cent.
I'm over it. I agree. Totally agree. And that whole, when I saw that song, it's like a big red flag went up, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm cool, man. But anyway, I went on a tangent for a little bit. Did you have any other shout outs or shout ats?
Yeah, man. Another shot at, man. Charlotte, man. We got to do better, man. As far as the community, man. We've had 8 murders in 8 days, man.
Yeah.
That has to stop, man. Like,
yeah,
we're in the whole pandemic and we're shooting people, man. Just it just goes back into it feeds into when people say, "Oh, fund the police more and more and more." No, I mean, police usually come there after the crime is done. They're not there to prevent.
They can't prevent it. Right.
And so we need to piggyback off of Justice said. We need to fund things like mental health, de-escalation, community funds, and stuff like that. And then once those things are properly funded, you'll actually see a decrease in crime with more opportunity that people actually have and more involvement within the community.
And we need people to understand that more, man.
People don't want to. They're dead.
Right.
And then finally, man, Wednesday night, man, it's DMX versus Snoop, man. Snoop's gonna roll over DMX, but it's gonna be a good one, man.
I may watch, I may not. I don't know, man.
You ain't got nothing better to do.
I ain't got nothing better to do. You're right. We agree on that part. I ain't got nothing better to do. So let me get to my shout outs because I got a list this week. And the first on my shout at list goes to the DeVos family. The Orlando Magic, who are set to lay off a bunch of staff this week, including one of their radio announcers this week, did just that. They laid off a bunch of people in the midst of this pandemic crisis, all this other stuff. I want to this is why this is a shout at them. Let me remind people that the DeVos family is worth $5 billion with a B. You mean to tell me that they can't supplement a couple of employees' income for maybe a couple of months to a year?
Yep.
Really? I would never ever understand why quote unquote common people like to defend the big rich, super rich guys when they do stuff like this. It's disgusting. And to my knowledge, they are the only team doing stuff like this. It is disgusting, man. Michael Jordan, who is the lowest on the totem pole as far as being the richest owners in the NBA, is not even doing crap like this, man. It's disgusting. It is absolutely disgusting, man. Next on my shot at list. I kind of feel bad about doing this, man. Kind of, because I don't know exactly why they did this. It could have been maybe they just needed money. I want to shout at Nia Long and Omar Epps for taking that role in that trash Netflix movie. Look, man, again, let me be clear. I don't know why they took those roles. Yeah, I don't know. Hard, I have no idea.
Sounds hard.
I had no idea, man. Look, we are in the middle of a pandemic. Everybody needs money at some point. But
hey, look, I'm about to say something controversial, man. If Nia Long had a OnlyFans, would you subscribe?
How much per month? But let me kind of clean this up, man. I guess my shout out is not necessarily at them. My shout out is that entire production of that movie. Good Lord, stop it, man!
Shit, that phone upside down.
Upside down, really do better, Hollywood. Look, again, I'm trying not to go on a tangent, man. But Black Hollywood, please do better. Just do better, please. Okay. My next shout at, I told you I got a list this week. My next shout at is going to Starbucks. Boy, I noticed there's a lot of rewards in my email. It's a lot of the staff wearing Black Lives Matter t-shirts now. So, oh, really? So we care about black people now, Starbucks? Really? After what you said a month ago, we're flipping the script now? Seriously? How's the saying? What's the saying, Rodney? When somebody shows you who they are, the first time it's probably who they are, something like that?
Yep.
That's how I feel about Starbucks, man.
Starbucks like to call the cops on black people, too.
So my last shout at, and this is it's not really a serious one. My last shout at goes to Miles Bridges. I know basketball players want to be rappers, man, and rappers want to be ball players. Everybody can't make music, man.
No.
Look, man, music is just not for everybody. We all love it. What would we do without music in our lives? But everybody is not equipped to make music. Miles Bridges, please stop making music, brother. We love you, man. I hope you stay on the Hornets forever, but just stop it, man. Just stop. Just stop it. Just stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Anyway, Rodney, you got any other thoughts to say before we get out of here, brother?
Nothing, man. I just want to give a shout out to Justin, man, for hopping on today and talking.
And hopefully next time we have Justin on, we can be in the studio next time. Hopefully that can happen, man. Yeah.
6 feet.
No doubt, man. All right, brother. Well, we're gonna get out of here, man. As always, thank you to our fans, our subscribers. Thank you for toughing it out with us today. I know we had some technical issues today and not a lot going on in the sports community, man. So again, to our faithful fans who are toughing it out with us and adjusting with us, we sincerely thank you for doing so, man. Again, thank you. We out of here. See you next time.
Sports are back this week.
Peace.